Hello everyone, this is Sotech Jeff, also known as Bernina Jeff in Grand Junction, Colorado. This is part 3 of our industrial machine resurrection. This guy didn't even turn. He'd been left out in the rain and the elements for a while. So we have him oiled, cleaned up a little bit. We're going to go through the final stages and then see if it will sew. So here we go. We have a few things to finish oiling here. Up here on top, this machine has a little bathtub for oil and stuff. So I'm just going to take my cap off the oil and I'm going to give that a little bit there. That's going to saturate the wick and let it oil down. And then there's a little pad that floats in the bathtub. I'm going to put a little more oil on top of that pad. So that's going to keep that particular area well saturated. And he just is held in. See the little hole there to oil it so you don't have to take the cover off all the time? So I'm going to line up that screw hole, at least get him in place. So I had taken this hand wheel off, cleaned everything off, and that helped free things up. All right, almost gave up there. Everything's nice and free. I want to point out down here in the hook, this is like the brains or the muscle or the high-tech part of the machine. This hook has a very sharp tip on it, and it grabs the thread as it comes by when the needle's going down and just coming back up about 3 millimeters. But there's a series of 1, 2, 3, 4 screws right here on this little light piece of metal. We took those screws out and used 600 grit sandpaper and then 1000 grit sandpaper to get all the rust off of it. And then there's another bar that holds the inside bobbin case pin, and there's 3 screws in that. So we took those baby screws out, did the same thing, and we disassembled the hook while it was still in the machine. There are 2 screws over here that are larger set screws. These are what you loosen to adjust the timing. So there's one there. You see my red mark, so I kind of set a red mark so I would put it back in timing, and then one right there. You loosen those to adjust timing. There are no fewer than 100 videos on YouTube on setting timing, so I'm not going to go in there because it's a very intricate and precise setting. So the real quick overview of the timing is this hook has to pass the needle just as the eye is coming up. So that hook touches behind the needle scarf area, and as the needle comes up, the hook passes and catches the loop at the top thread to form the lock stitch. So we cleaned that up. We cleaned the bobbin case up. It was all rusty. This is the tension unit. So I took the screw out. There's a spring, a couple discs, and that's how the tension unit works. So I took it apart and cleaned it out. Basically, if you get everything back to a shiny surface, it's going to sew. So this did not have a presser foot, so I ordered a presser foot, and the presser foot took a little bit of manipulation and I got it to fit. I even had to change the lifter because the lifter didn't raise the presser foot up high enough. So let's reassemble here. This is a needle plate. I took it to the polishing machine and polished it up. And we're going to put the screws in here. And we're not going to white knuckle them down, but we're going to get them to where they're not going to rattle out. So we're going to get the screws on the needle plate in. They're just a normal type screw, but they're flush mounted, so you can't be putting just any old screw in there. And I actually have basically invented a tool that if you don't have room under here, it's a 1.5-inch disc with a piece of metal for the slot, so you can just line that right up on the screw and turn like that, and it takes the needle plate screws out. I have them for regular screws, and then the Baby Lock and brother machines have a fatter piece of metal down here to fit in their screw slot. The bobbin case, let me make sure that this has to rotate just right to get the bobbin case out. So we clean this all up. When you put the bobbin in almost all your machines, you want to make sure that when you put it in and you pull the thread that this one goes clockwise. When you have a drop-in bobbin, they usually go counterclockwise. So this one goes clockwise, and it has a little bit of tension to it because we're dealing with a heavier nylon thread. Let's snip this off. I polished that guy up. That was all rust. You didn't even know it was metal. All right. I'm not going to put the cover on, but I'm going to show the threading. So we have the thread, a big cone of thread on a thread tree. You can go through one or two of these little holes on this post. Now I'm going to put it around this pre-tensioner guide here. So you go down and around, making sure you don't tie a knot with it. So all that does is it curls around there, kind of like a candy cane, to get the tension and twist out of your thread. Then I hold onto the top of the thread and I pull it in really tight around the tension unit, and I come back to the top to catch this U-shaped spring. That's called a check spring. Then on industrial machines, it has this stirrup down here. So you go around the stirrup and then into that guide, and I'm going to bring the take-up lever to the top to thread it. And it's black and it's dark in the background. Okay, and I'm pulling on the thread, and I got tension. It's pulling without breaking the thread. That's important. Then my mom always told me, if you want to thread a needle, cut your needle at an angle, like cut your thread at an angle, not the needle. Cut your thread at an angle, kind of like French cut green beans. And if it doesn't unravel, this nylon thread likes to unravel. If it doesn't unravel, it'll go through the eye of the needle easier. There we go. All right, let's see if it's going to pick up the bobbin thread. So I'm going to rotate this machine. It rotates the same direction as a domestic machine. And there we go. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 tries. So there, it's picked up the bobbin thread. I'm going to bring the bobbin thread up through there, and then the top thread down through the hole. So I like to bring my threads to the back or to the left of my project. Now, I got a sandwich of fabric here. It's some denim and some fresh top and bottom thread. And my test unit is just a regular sewing machine motor hooked up to a foot control and to a belt. And then I just pull it, clamp it to the table, pull it, get some tension, and that will give me enough power to test sew this without an industrial table. Let's see if it sews and makes a stitch. I think we're in good luck here. So you always hand crank this to where this take-up lever is at the top of its stroke. Now, some of these older machines do not have a tension release. So I grab the thread here and I pull down to get a tension release. And looky there, no runs, no drips, no errors. We have a nice top stitch. We have the bottom stitch. Now let's test it with a really long stitch. So this was on 2. We're going to test it about a 7, and we're going to test to see if the reverse works. So, and then I'm going to put it in reverse. I think we have a winner here. This guy's going to make gloves. He's got some engineering he wants to try to do with this machine. It had his spouse had put it out in the outside for him to pick up, and didn't tell him to come pick it up during a divorce. So it needed some tender loving care. And I'm kind of giving him a really good break on it, since this is a YouTube series, that I'm going to charge him a whole lot less than the amount of time I really do have into this. So hope you enjoy this. It's Bernina Jeff at High Fashion Sewing Machines. If you need oil and parts and tools, you can get to my Shopify account, which is bernina-jeff.myshopify.com, or email me at jpvlefty@aol.com, or call the shop at 970-256-1293. Call after 9:30 Colorado time. Thank you very much.